The illusion of progress, why diversity without justice is just another broken promise. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to begin by acknowledging the remarkable woman whose insights form the foundation of this talk, Monique Colón. She is, without exaggeration, one of the most transformative voices in the equity landscape today. Through her groundbreaking research and fearless advocacy, she has forced institutions to confront uncomfortable truths about who truly benefits from so called progress. Her work doesn't just illuminate problems, it fundamentally reshapes how we measure success in creating just workplaces. When history looks back on the architects of true equity in American business, Monique Colon's name will be among those who refused to accept symbolic victories when structural transformation was needed. My conversation with her has profoundly altered my understanding of what genuine progress looks like. And today I want to share what I've learned because it challenges everything we think we know about equity in America. We live in a time of stunning contradictions. Headlines celebrate diversity milestones while underlying systems remain stubbornly unchanged. We applaud symbolic victories while structural inequities deepen. We point to exceptional individuals while ignoring collective patterns of exclusion. And perhaps nowhere is this contradiction more evident, more glaring than in the experience of Black women in America's workforce. Here's a counterintuitive truth that emerged from my conversation with Monique. Despite being among the most highly educated and hardest working groups in America, Black women's leadership and economic advancement aren't just stalled, they're actively being eroded in 2025. Let that sink in for a moment. This challenges a fundamental assumption many of us hold dear, that progress for some automatically means progress for all, that rising tides lift all boats. That time alone will solve our equity problems. But what if that's not true? What if our most cherished beliefs about progress are fundamentally flawed? What if the stories we tell ourselves about how change happens are actually preventing real change? Consider this striking contradiction. Women's representation at the CEO level has reached historic highs. That sounds like progress, right? Yet only two Black women lead Fortune 500 companies today. Two out of 500. That's not just underrepresentation, it's systematic exclusion. At the same time, Black women have faced the highest job losses of any demographic group this year, losing 106,000 jobs in April alone, even as overall employment rose across the country. This isn't random misfortune, it's a pattern that reveals something profound about how our systems actually work. How can both these realities exist simultaneously? How can we celebrate women's advancement when such advancement clearly isn't reaching all women equally? This is what I call the illusion of progress. When surface level changes mask deeper, persistent inequities, when we mistake representation for transformation, when we celebrate exceptional individuals while ignoring the systems that make their success so exceptional in the first place. Let me share three key insights from my conversation with Monique that illuminate this phenomenon. First, progress is not equal. While there are more female CEOs than ever before, true equity remains elusive. The fraction of those leaders who are Black women is vanishingly small. This suggests our metrics for measuring progress may be fundamentally flawed. We're celebrating the wrong things, asking the wrong questions, and therefore getting the wrong results. Second, economic headwinds are intensifying specifically for Black women. In 2025, Black professional communities face disproportionate job losses and persistent wage gaps. Nearly 9 out of 10 Black women report their wages can't keep up with living costs. This isn't random, it's systemic. It reflects choices about who bears the burden when institutions contract, who gets protected when resources are scarce, whose labor is valued, and whose is not. Third, individual success stories, while inspiring, cannot substitute for collective solutions. Sustainable change requires bold action, not just conversations about diversity, but real investment in pay equity, career advancement opportunities, and policies shaped by those most affected. Inspiration without structural change is just another form of gaslighting. To understand these dynamics more deeply, let's examine three revealing stories that Monique shared with me. The first centers on the Sunda Brown Duckett, CEO of TIA, a major financial services firm. She represents one of only two Black female CEOs on the Fortune 500 list in 2025. Think about that. In a country where Black women earn more advanced degrees than almost any other demographic group, only two have broken through to lead our largest companies. Duckett's journey was anything but smooth. She navigated persistent barriers that many Black professionals face: lack of sponsorship opportunities, pay inequity compared to white male peers with similar credentials, and constant skepticism about her leadership potential. Despite these obstacles, she built coalitions within TFOA to champion mentorship programs focused on underrepresented talent. She advocated internally for transparent promotion criteria and publicly addressed racial wealth gaps through industry forums. The results were significant. TEAA saw measurable increase in internal mobility for employees from marginalized backgrounds, and external partnerships grew around retirement literacy initiatives aimed at closing wealth disparities. But here's a crucial point: Duckett's exceptional success highlights just how rare such representation remains. Her visibility inspires other aspiring leaders while simultaneously underscoring the systemic barriers that make such achievements so uncommon. When we celebrate her breakthrough without acknowledging the system that makes it so exceptional, we perpetuate the illusion that the playing field is level when clearly it is not. The second story reveals an even more troubling trend. In April 2025 alone, over 106,000 jobs held by Black women disappeared, the steepest decline among any demographic group, even as overall U.S. employment increased. This wasn't a random fluctuation. Black professional workers grappled with layoffs driven by rollbacks in DEI initiatives alongside an economic climate increasingly hostile toward workplace inclusion efforts. Imagine this: you've done everything right, you've earned advanced degrees, often taking on significant debt to do so. You've worked twice as hard to get half as far. You've navigated microaggressions and outright discrimination. You've built expertise and institutional knowledge. And then when economic pressures mount, you're the first to go. Not because of your performance, but because of systemic biases about whose labor is dispensable. Community organizations mobilize rapid response networks offering career counseling tailored specifically for displaced mid career professionals. Some firms doubled down on retention bonuses or remote work options targeting vulnerable staff segments. These efforts provided short term relief for some, but broader trends underscored how tenuous gains remain without structural change from employers or policymakers. This crisis sparked renewed calls nationwide, from grassroots groups up through federal agencies, for mandatory reporting on race and gender outcomes tied to corporate hiring and firing practices. But the damage was already done for thousands of professionals whose careers were derailed not by their performance, but by biased systems. The third story examines the persistent wage gap experienced by senior level Black women. A July 2024 report found that senior level full time working Black women earn just 69 cents for every dollar paid to white men, with disparities widening further late into careers, dropping to 59 cents. Think about what this means in practical terms. Two professionals, same experience, same credentials, same performance, but one earns nearly half what the other does simply because of race and gender. This occurs despite high labor force participation rates among Black women in equivalent performance metrics. Some organizations have piloted blind salary audits paired with transparent promotion pathways, overseen by third party consultants to root out bias from decision making processes. Where implemented fully, such measures closed wage gaps within 2 years while increasing retention among senior staffers identifying as both female and African American. These pilot projects offer models scalable across industries seeking real accountability, not just performative pledges, in advancing racial and gender justice. But they remain the exception, not the rule. And without external pressure, most organizations will continue to benefit from inequitable systems rather than dismantle them. What these stories reveal is a fundamental truth. Our conventional wisdom about progress is deeply flawed. We celebrate symbolic victories while underlying systems remain unchanged or even regress. We point to exceptional individuals while ignoring collective patterns. We mistake representation for transformation. This matters because how we define progress determines what we're willing to fight for. If we believe things are generally improving, that time alone will solve our equity problems. We're less likely to demand fundamental change. We're more likely to accept incremental adjustments to broken systems rather than reimagining those systems entirely. So, what would real progress look like? Real progress would mean that exceptional stories like the Sunda Brown Ducats wouldn't be exceptional at all. It would mean that Black women's representation in leadership would reflect their qualifications and workforce participation. It would mean that economic downturns wouldn't disproportionately impact already marginalized communities. Real progress would mean addressing root causes, not just symptoms. It would mean examining how our institutions, from education to hiring to promotion, systematically advantage some groups while disadvantaging others. It would mean creating accountability mechanisms with real consequences for organizations that fail to advance equity. Most importantly, real progress would mean centering the voices and experiences of those most affected by inequity. As Monique emphasized in our conversation, sustainable change requires policies shaped by those who understand these challenges firsthand. This brings me to a crucial question. Why should anyone who isn't directly affected by these disparities care? The answer is both practical and moral. Practically speaking, research consistently shows that diverse leadership drives innovation and improves financial performance. Companies with diverse executive teams are 33% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. When we systematically exclude talented individuals from leadership, we all lose out on their potential contributions. Morally speaking, A society that claims to value merit while systematically disadvantaging certain groups based on race and gender is living a contradiction. Such contradictions erode trust in our institutions and undermine our collective potential. So, what can we do? How can we move beyond the illusion of progress toward genuine transformation? For organizational leaders, implement transparent promotion criteria, conduct regular pay equity audits with consequences for disparities, create sponsorship programs specifically designed to advance underrepresented talent. Most importantly, tie executive compensation to measurable diversity and inclusion outcomes. For policymakers, strengthen enforcement of existing anti discrimination laws. Require companies to report promotion rates and pay data by race and gender. Invest in educational and entrepreneurial opportunities in underserved communities. For individuals with privilege, use your influence to advocate for systemic change. Amplify marginalized voices rather than speaking for them. Examine how you might benefit from current systems and be willing to surrender unearned advantages. For everyone, question narratives of progress that don't include everyone. Look beyond exceptional success stories to examine patterns. Demand evidence, not just promises, from institutions claiming commitment to equity. I want to leave you with this. The greatest barrier to genuine equity isn't outright opposition, it's the comforting illusion that we're already on the right path. It's the celebration of symbolic victories that mask deeper inequities. It's the exceptional success stories that make us believe the system works when it clearly doesn't work for most. True transformation begins when we have the courage to see through these illusions, to measure progress not by how many barriers exceptional individuals can overcome, but by how many barriers we collectively dismantle so that excellence can flourish unimpeded by race, gender, or background. Today, I challenge you to become disruptors of the status quo. Reject the comfortable narratives that tell you change is inevitable. Question the metrics that celebrate token representation while ignoring systematic exclusion. Demand accountability from institutions that promise equity but deliver only symbolic gestures. Most importantly, I challenge you to redefine progress itself, not as exceptional individuals breaking through barriers, but as the systematic dismantling of those barriers for everyone. Not as incremental change that preserves existing power structures, but as fundamental transformation that creates truly just systems. The illusion of progress is comfortable, reality is not. But only by confronting reality can we create the world we claim to believe in, one where talent, not identity, determines opportunity, one where exceptional achievement isn't exceptional at all, just the natural result of systems that work for everyone. Thank you